So today, what I'd like to talk to you about is how I came to Unity Church, what it is that I do, and how you are a gift to the world. God does not call the qualified. She qualifies the called. And part of the way that I came to Unity Church is what I would call a calling. I'm sure all of you had this experience at some point of calling, something that's moving you in a direction, that's pulling you to do something. And I was having a particular calling to speak in front of more people, to minister in this particular form. I wasn't sure I wanted to answer that call. It felt a little scary to me to do that in the way that it came about. So the way I started out is I had a friend of mine. Some of you may know him. He's actually a minister, and he speaks here. He's in the men's group with me. His name is Kevin Harbour, and he speaks here. And I knew that he does this. And so when I had this calling, I went to him and I said, "Hey, Kevin, I think this is what I want to do. I want to step into ministering. And would you mentor me? Would you mentor me in doing this?" And he said, "Sure, Mike. Yes, I'll mentor you." Something interesting you might know about Kevin is I've asked him many questions. This is just a side note. I've asked him to do many things many times, and I don't think he's ever said no. I don't know how he does that. I'm like, how do you always say yes to everything? So he said yes. And so I'm thinking, this is great. He's going to mentor me. I'm going to get mentored. I'm going to learn how to do this. And so a day goes by, a week goes by, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And I'm thinking to myself, Kevin's not a very good mentor. He's not doing a really good job. And he should be doing something. And he should be mentoring me. He's not doing it. So I go to Kevin and I go to talk to him. I'm a little upset about it, And I say, "Hey, Kevin, you said you were going to mentor me. And I don't really think you're doing it. And you should be doing this." And as I'm saying this to him, in the middle of it, I just had this awareness that it was almost as though I was asking his permission to start ministering. And I told him that. I said, "I'm having this experience right now, Kevin. I feel like I'm asking you permission for me to start doing this." And he looked at me and said, "Mike, I give you permission to do it." And I said, "Great, thanks." And then I still didn't know what to do next. I said, "Well, what do I do now?" And I did really want him to work with me in a particular way. So I said, he said, "Well, what is it that you want me to do, Mike? What do you want me to do?" I said, "Okay, I know what I want. I'm working on a message that I have. So I want to come to your office and just give this message to you and let you listen, and you give me feedback on it. How about that?" He says, "Okay, that's fine." He sets up a time. I go into his office, and I'm giving this wonderful and powerful message to him, in this sermon, or whatever you want to call it, a message. And in the middle of this message, there's a little joke that I say. This is important. And I say to him, what I do is, I lead horses to water. And then if they don't drink, then I drown them. So this is important for the So I end the message, and then he gives me feedback on it, and we're talking about it. And then he pulls out his phone. And he says, "Let me give you some phone numbers, Mike." And I said, "Phone numbers for what?" He says, "Well, I'm going to give you phone numbers of places you could go and speak," because he speaks all over the place. And so one of the numbers he gives me is Chris's number. So he's giving me these numbers. I'm writing the numbers down. I'm like, wow, I'm getting numbers, so I'm going to call people to go do this. And I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to do this. And so I have the numbers, and I'm getting ready to leave his office. And I'm looking at the numbers, and I look at him, and I said, "Kevin, does this mean I have to call the number?" And he looked at me, and he said, "All I do is lead horses to water." So I said, "Okay." And I told him I don't like that. I don't like when people use my stuff on it. So So after that, after that what happened was I went home, a day went by, a week went by, 2 weeks went by, 3 weeks. I have these numbers. I'm looking at the numbers every day. Well, look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. I'm going to call one of these numbers someday, sometime in the future. I'm going to call these numbers. I'm feeling called. I'm going to do it. But I'm just not ready yet. It's not the right time. I'm not prepared. But I got the numbers. And so what happens is there's this kid across the street where I live, and he's outside playing basketball. And I decide, I'm going to go play basketball with this kid, shoot around with him, bond with him a little bit. And I go out here, we're playing basketball, and I go to make a move to the hoop, like I made when I was 19 years old. But I'm 39. And so at that moment in time, my body reminded me of that, and something in my back just dropped. And I mean, it was so painful. I could barely walk after that. And so I was walking, and I had to walk back into my house, and I lay down in the bed. And I don't know if I've ever felt pain like that in my life, physical pain. It was like somebody took a knife in my back. And I was thinking to myself, I was actually scared too, because it was so painful. And it was such in the core of my lower back that I was thinking I might not be able to walk again. I was in tears, in fear. And all of a sudden, in the middle of this, and I'm alone, I think about these numbers. They become the most important thing in the world to me. And I get up out of the bed, and I can barely walk, and I walk over to the other room, and I get the numbers, and I start calling these numbers. And I got a hold of Chris when I called this number. And you might not have known that at that point in time, but I was in a lot of pain. And I said, hey, I would like to come and speak at your church, and this is who I am, and I know Kevin. And Chris said, yes, you're welcome. You can come. And so he gives me the information, and I set up a date to come. And then also, Chris said to me, why don't you come and visit the church before you come and speak? And I said, okay, I'll do that. So I came and visited here, within 2 days of that, I was still in a lot of pain. But when I came in here, I went through a wonderful service, and then at the end of that service, you all had a little healing circle over here. And I said, I'm going to go to that healing circle because I was in pain. So I went into the circle, and a group of you put your hands on me and blessed me and healed me. And within 2 weeks, the pain was gone. And so I want to thank you all so much for that was a part of my healing. And it's interesting to me how you see the circle of that, how it came around. It's like, wow, this is interesting how this came full circle. Maybe I wouldn't have had to go through all that if I just called the number. It just came here. I wouldn't have to go through that. So that's that part of it. And then